Dumelang ke a le dumedisa. My name is Thabang Morobane, and remember the podcast is Conversations with Thabang, and today we are so honored to have one of the legal eagle in South Africa. Ke bua ka ntate Machini Motloung. Ke a tshepa hore ke a nepa ke SC. Ke bana ba batlang ba ka tswile ha nyenyana fela. Ntate Motloung, welcome to our podcast.
Thanks, Ntate Morobane. I feel honored to be here, yes, and to share my experiences and to just have a light conversation.
Yes. Ntate Machini, the love for law. Who can look at him?
Yeah. I remember at some point, Twasa, we grew up together with Twasa. So,
okay.
Yes. And there was a time when we had a conversation.
Yes.
And I was in the office. I think it was a Friday, and it was late. Mm-hmm. And I said, "Yo, you know what? I'm still in the office." She said, "Yeah, you know what? Every time people ask me about your journey, I know where it started. Mm-hmm. From your childhood, you always aspired to be a legal representative. Okay. You always wanted to be a legal practitioner, and now you are living your dream. So, in essence, it started at a very young age. Okay. Coincidentally, I grew up next door to a courthouse. My parents' house is just a stone throw away from Putadichaba Magistrates Court.
Okay.
So you can just imagine, I grew up seeing police vans going in and out of a court building. I would see prosecutors going up and down, and I developed love to really practice law. But in essence, as we grew up in 𝐶𝐏𝐒𝐄𝐏, we were faced with numerous challenges. It was at a time when pre-apartheid era, 𝐶𝐏𝐄𝐏 was a homeland, a Bantustan. And just to have an understanding, a clear understanding of the genesis behind 𝐶𝐏𝐄𝐏 being a homeland. It's said that we happened to, or rather apartheid government happened to develop what we call Group Areas Act.
Yes.
It was a bad act, which in a way pushed people to areas that are not even habitable. And they push them along the tribal lines, but Sotho should stay, on their own. Botswana should go and stay in Botswana, vendors and all of that. So it's one of those, moments that really propelled one to really want to study law and to really impact on the development of jurisprudence to ensure that the imbalances and atrocities of the past do not really, recur post apartheid era. So, in short, that's how the journey began.
So now we obtain an irritated argument. According to Section 70 of the Constitution. So, Ntate Machini, you worked for Law Society. I mean the legal aid for 20 years, and you left. Yes. What could have been the reason behind that?
Look, I think there come a time in life, particularly in a career, when you would have really ran the race and accomplished everything that you would have wanted. So it was a question of one getting into the space with a game plan.
Yeah,
you don't just happen to get into a space randomly without a plan. So I had a plan in 2003 from a private practice to say, you know what, I need to develop. Ntate Morobane, you'll be amazed at the quality of legal services rendered by legal aid and the resources they have.
No, I've seen that.
You'd appreciate that in economic times such as this, where legal costs are quite exorbitant. So you'd get an option to be represented by legal aid. And legal aid has to be capacitated in terms of resources such as library, equipment. They've got one of the best, research engines. They've got Nexus, Juta Stars, and exposure to legal, services in general, or a wide variety of legal practice or the areas of the law. I would practice anything I want. Criminal law, civil law, labor law. That's the platform legal aid would give you. So really it was time for one, I've outgrown and I wanted to face new challenges. And it was just an opportune moment after having spent 20 years, I needed to really, play my cards properly by ensuring that the exit point is strategic. They say a good dancer knows when to leave the stage. Yes, I think I had made my mark, I had made my contribution, and it was time to move on to other challenges.
Yes. Dr. Machini, take us back to your first case. Yeah, you are varsity. You go and do your articles and all of that, and then you also Dr. Machini, go and represent Mr. Morobane.
Yeah, it was quite a journey.
Yeah.
Remember when I started articles at a firm called Pete and Partners in Kwakwa.
Yes.
Now, the late Mr. Pete, may his soul rest in peace, was one of the legal giants in this country. I can tell you, those who practice with him, there's the judge president of the then judge president of Northern Cape Division, Judge 𝐂𝐏𝐈𝐒𝐒𝐃𝐄, once remarked when he wanted to know where I'm coming from. I said, from Pete attorneys. He said, wow, that was a giant. So we had the cream. And the type of clients that we service in Kwakwa was equally the cream. And now you'd get clients, the late Mr. Mokwepa.
Yes.
He was my client when I was a candidate attorney. He just said to me, you know what, you are going to represent me. Why? I don't know. I think he had faith that I will deliver. But when I started, I remember I requested my mother Waroka.
Yes.
So she made me a gown.
Oh.
So, and before you appear in court, you must register your articles and you must have a right of appearance. Now here comes my president, my principal, Mr. Pete, comes into my office. My gown is hanging there.
Yes.
He's surprised, ain't that? Why do you have a gown now? Because you don't have right of appearance. No, I'm ready. I'm getting ready because 𝐂𝐿 is a thing, nationally 𝐂𝐿. Now I said to and okay, I had my first case. Remember you're a candidate attorney, no experience whatsoever, and the type of training that you get with due respect to private practice. But private practice should understand its business. They wouldn't really get a lot of time to train you. The training is not structured like legal aid, where we have structured training, pre-admission programs, court readiness program, where they take you through different stages of the court processes before you go to court. So there you are thrown into the deep end. Sure. Now I have a matter. It was in the same court. Yes. And this is a client charged with robbery. Oh. I remember the prosecutor there, Mr. Charlie Marawa, may his soul rest in peace, he's late now. I don't know, for some reason he would get bored easily, so he would literally sleep in court. Sleep, because he's bored in the manner in which maybe I'm cross-examining, yes. I don't know. But I did my best. Yes. I can tell you, I think my client was found guilty. The evidence was overwhelming. So I don't think he was found guilty owing to my inexperience. Yes. But I think I could have done better, obviously. He got 8 months. He was so excited, so happy that he got 8 months. Even when he got out, he would come to my office. He was so proud that I represented
8
him.
months.
Yeah, it was robbery.
Yeah, it's robbery.
It was robbery.
When you got levels, what do you call it? Level what? Schedule something.
It's a Schedule 6.
Schedule 6 is a serious one.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, for instance, armed robbery, which is robbery with aggravating circumstances, can get you a minimum sentence of 15 years. That is armed robbery. And so it was hectic. It was hectic, and I remember I appeared before my mentor.
Yes.
He was a family friend. He's still a magistrate in Alberton, Mr. Mate. And he actually he was facilitating me getting into the legal space. I remember when I was still studying, he would give me books.
Yes.
Now here I am now. Yeah. My first case is before him. The voice was vibrating, Robert.
Yeah.
The stage fright is something else because you are thrown literally into the deep end. Yeah. So there was vibration in your voice, but as time goes on, you'd find your footing, and you would be in a position to articulate properly.
But how do you feel after losing a case? I just imagine that, because we depend on you. You are my lawyer. We go to the court. I know, that the machine. But when I, as a person, because we never get to ask you, how do you feel? After all, you are a human being.
Look, I've got a colleague, Advocate Dlamini.
Yes.
He's very close with me.
Yes.
And we always discuss cases.
Yes.
And he said to me one day, you know what? I think the difference between us and many other lawyers is that we tend to get too involved in the case and absorb the emotions that comes with the case. But I think it's more about developing a rapport with your client. And the moment you develop that rapport with your client, you step into your client's shoes. You have to feel that stone in that client's shoes, so that you would then, execute the mandate, to the best of your abilities. And imagine if after having done that and the results are not as pleasing as you wanted, it is a sad moment. It's a sad moment when one, after having argued heavily and vigorously, against the state, or even in a civil case, and then the judgment comes, against you. Yeah. You would want to turn your back, just look at your client, and but at that moment, it's a somber moment. It's a really somber moment, particularly if you are of the view, firm view that your client remains innocent. Notwithstanding the finding of guilt, for instance, or notwithstanding the finding by a civil court against him. But at that moment, it's really a moment that one would move away from, if possible. But it's inevitable. You win some, you lose some, depending on the facts of the case, because you are as good as the facts of your case.
Yeah, we're still talking to the Machini Motloung of the Machini Motloung and Associates.
Machini Motloung Incorporated.
Incorporated, yes. And we're looking into the legal fraternity and what they go through. After break, I want to talk to Ndati Machini about a situation where you find that your client has lied. What do you do when you get to the court and you find that we'll be back shortly. Conversations with Thabang, our goal is to move people from crisis to control, because people, when they go through a lot, some of them, like we always say, they do drugs, some they commit suicide. You would know that now. Stats reveal that many men commit suicide. And then with the young people, it's just a lot. So we invite people like Ntate Machini Motloung to come and share their journey that will inspire you. Ntate Machini, your client lies, and when you get to the courtroom, you discover as the case continue that, hey, the man have one net, man. What do you do?
It's a moment that any lawyer wouldn't want to be, involved in, yes. Because it's worse when you discover, when the client is now giving evidence, yes. All right, because the stages of proceedings is that the state will lead evidence, will cross-examine and put the version of your client. When he gets to the box, he puts a version that is completely opposite, contradictory to what you've been saying throughout. And you'll see the judge looking at you. And the prosecutor will ask the client, but my learned colleague here is so capable. Yes. Had you told him this, I'm sure, very sure, that he would have put this version across to the witnesses, for the witnesses to respond to. Did you tell him? No. It is sad. It is sad. It is sad. It is sad. So you encourage a client. That's why you need to build that rapport. Yes. With me, it's experience. You can't buy experience. Yes. I can tell you. I can read the facts, and I can tell you exactly where the case is going. Yes. Now I will tell the client. I always tell my clients that, look, bro, if you smoke dagga. You know how to roll your zol. Mm-hmm. Now, if I were to roll your zol, it's definitely not gonna come out the same way, yes. Because I don't know how to roll it. Yes, yes. We're not I chase. How? Give me the facts. Let me understand the facts, and I will tell you what the law says about these facts. Otherwise, it is said if your client does not open up to you, and then you realize, or you come to realize that later on during the case, that the damage is so huge, and it's so irreparable.
Plus your reputation.
Your reputation, it's at stake. And remember, we are officers of the court.
Yes.
And you are expected to take the court into confidence by stating the facts without misleading the court. It's something if your client says to you, because there is attorney-client confidentiality and privilege. If your client confides and tell you the facts as they are, the state still bears the honors to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt. Mm-hmm. So there's no onus on your client to say anything. So you can go there and test the state's case without misleading the court. But don't mislead the court by getting a version that is wrong or false, and later on your client comes and says something opposite.
Dr. Machini, these high-profile cases, man, one moment you become a celebrity because you are all over televisions, we can see you. Does it come with pressure? I mean, you are a human being after all. The family, or you'll be out having coffee. These high-profile cases. Yeah. How do you handle this pressure? And they create interest. I can just imagine that the machine is walking down the street. Somebody, that the case here, yeah, we want to run that machine. So, what does that do to you?
No, it does. It has got its own toll. Particularly if you are in a public space. For instance, you avoid certain places, deliberately and intentionally, because you don't want to make headlines for wrong reasons. But you bump into people, you walk into a mall very remote from where you stay, and someone stops you and said, I know you, have seen you somewhere. And you say, shh, because they would want to say where they send. Yes. There is pressure. There is pressure, both inside the courtroom as well as outside. We just have to be frank about it.
Yes,
The introduction of, because it's public interest cases.
Yes.
Public interest cases, yes, to a large extent, the public has got the interest to know about the case until its finality. But at the same time, we shouldn't really move towards turning our courtrooms into Hollywood.
Yes.
Because then it comes up with a lot of pressure. It puts pressure even on presiding officers, because now you are under serious and close public scrutiny, and the social media will be making their own, remarks about your case, and they are human beings as well, but it has got its own pressure. You can feel it when you have a case that is not high profile. You can feel how light it is.
Yes.
But you need to be equal to the task. You really, it's not everyone can handle a pressure that comes with high profile cases.
Yes.
Let's be frank and open about it. So you need to be equal to the task in terms of your abilities to handle. Firstly, you need to be able to handle the media, because you'll be getting a lot of queries from the media, and there's a fine line between media freedom in terms of what they want from you and the observation of sub judice rule, because the case is still before court. It has not been finalized. There are certain things that you cannot say. There are certain things that you can divulge to the media. So all of that, and you get client, last week I attended the National Association of Democratic Lawyers, NEC. I'm the deputy president.
Yes.
And when we were there in Joburg, there's an Indian lady who stops me with her husband. I've seen you somewhere. Can I take a picture with you? So it does have a toll, but you just have to be able to manage and not to allow a situation where it runs into your head. You should remain grounded, humble to the cause, because at the end of the day, it's not really about you, but it's about what you are doing and the contribution that you are making in developing the law.
Ndate Machini, before I get into other stuff that you do, because I know you also manage talent, what are the common mistakes that people normally do that you'd find them being on the wrong side of the law? I would take a simple thing. I get a sermon, I ignore it. And you go there, you find most of us men are there in that Court 23, maintenance court. What are those common mistakes? What are the other things that people can do? I just want to do a practical example of the maintenance, because where do people get it wrong? Couples or parents?
I think the law or legal system, people tend to take the legal system for granted.
Okay.
I always say it's more like if you have a doctor.
Yes.
And you can't make a call to your doctor and say, "Doctor, I feel a pain somewhere on my knee.
Yes.
What do you think? Give me a prognosis or diagnosis telephonically." I don't think that is proper. Or you go to an extent of telling the doctor the diagnosis. No, I've got a pain on my knee. I think it's meningitis. So people tend to tell you that no, the legal process works like this and that,
because they've just read it on the newspaper.
Yes. So they take the legal processes for granted, and this is because of ignorance. And you'd appreciate that in terms of our legal principle, ignorance is not an excuse in law. So you cannot be saying, "I received the summons. I thought." It's just a paper that is worthless or not worth the ink on it. Or I thought I must still come and say my story in court. There are processes that you would have followed. If you failed, there are consequences. So people, if they can just appreciate that lawyers are there to interpret the law and to practice law. Law cannot be practiced by lay persons. That is a fact that one cannot avoid. So in the main, that is what lands people in trouble. And also people tend to have disrespect towards the law. You know what the law says, but for some reason you hope that you will escape full responsibilities. You know your obligations, but for some reason you don't want to toe the line and be a law-abiding person. So that part, and you think you'll get away with it. And I always say, you think it will evaporate.
It doesn't. It comes back.
It comes back.
As we wrap up, you also work with talent. You've taken 𝐂𝐲𝐧𝐃𝐄 overseas, and you also manage 𝐷𝐾𝐈𝐒𝐻 and the rest of these soccer players that you are busy with. In that space, you go and meet Bontate 𝐈𝐧 𝐂𝐾𝐄 because yeah, documented
I think you just have to have the requisite zeal, and really that character to go extra mile, to go beyond the call of duty. So indeed, the other career that I have, and it's still within the law, is managing athletes. Athletes in general, even in the, so I practice entertainment law, even musicians such as Java.
Now from today, I'm going to be on your list.
And I've got Dion Hoto. And I need to also ensure that I provide good advice to them. I handle their matters, legal matters. Dr. Ivan Khoza is my mentor. He's my mentor. The wealth of knowledge and wisdom that he has, it's amazing. The contribution that he has made in this country, it's something that is unmatched in my view. So you get to be mentored by such people, and they really shape how you approach life, how you approach your career. So you need to create time to be in line with your athletes. I mean, I still have 𝐂𝐲𝐧𝐃𝐄. He's a coach now.
He has just beaten Kaizer Chiefs recently. No, Dr. Machini, thank you very much for coming in and sharing the story. This is just the beginning, because law, it's something that happens every day. So we definitely going to invite you again and to talk more, because we really need to educate our people about a lot of things. I think one of the things that I normally say to people is that people were taught about their rights but not their responsibilities. I think that's where in most cases we are getting it wrong. So those issues around street law are some of the things that I want us to do, because I know but Dr. Machini, thank you very much for making time. We really feel honored.
No, thank you, Dr. Mrobani, and really I would like to commend you for such a huge contribution that you are making. This is impactful to the youth. It would give them direction in terms of, knowing the do's and don'ts in their own lives, private lives. But in general, it will empower the youth and the members of the society at large. So it's a great initiative, and may God bless you, and may this grow and impact globally, and it will happen.
Now we actually want to tell the world our stories.
Yes.
And we want people to come and tell their stories. Nobody must tell that the Machini stories, because thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Till next time, God bless.